Hey guys, how's it going? Guru Pat, Pit Boss 306 from Pintados Stickboxing. I'm going to be going over one of the applications of our template. I got a question about a couple things. One being the florete form, how we would apply florete to our template, which goes more into flexible weapons. I may cover that in the flexible weapons video. But also one of the ones that we do regularly is a thrust and cut. And I think it's very important to pay attention to this, because when we're florete, pop, 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 that's showing us dexterity, but is it necessary? Will we ever use this stuff in real life? Well, maybe, but I prefer practicing the thrust and cut. And there's applications to the thrust and cut like you wouldn't believe. I fenced. I went competitively all through high school. Went to Canada Games for saber fencing, and one of the things that we do when we're sparring is was called holding the line, right? So we're putting the line out here to stop somebody from advancing. It's basically saying, if you walk any further, you're walking into my blade. If you walk any further, you're walking into my blade. Now, when we're doing this stuff, the cut, or excuse me, not cut and thrust, when we thrust and cut through, not only is it showing us dexterity, we're actually thrusting and cutting, We're feinting, and as soon as they go to hit our blade out of the way, we cut through. We feint and cut through. Or possibly we thrust, withdraw, and follow through with a cut. Thrust, withdraw, follow through with a cut. Thrust, withdraw, follow through with a cut. Thrust, follow through. Thrust, follow through, thrust. That reverse one, this is the most awkward one in the six. This is a 6-point template, not an 8-point template. This reverse upward thrust is a difficult one, but then we do the uppercut there. Now, this also can be used to draw a block. So you might go, oh, I'm gonna thrust you, and then the individual goes, ah, and they go into their roof block, and as soon as they do that, they're opening up their ribs. So if I'm here and you thrust high over here, and I'm like, oh shit, because I don't want to catch that on my head. Looks like I might catch it on my hand, but I don't want to catch that on my head. I just open up all my ribs here. So as we practice this, thrusting, and then we roll it through into a cut. Now the reason I'm using a barong today is because a lot of people don't pay attention to blade awareness when they're doing their stick fighting drills. I'm trying to take a step back from really teaching knife stuff, but when we're learning Kali, you have to remember that we're learning blade awareness. So your stick fighting is going to be so much better if you keep sword mentality in mind. When we're swinging, you're swinging with the blade. You're not swinging like this with the flat of the blade or like this. Your uppercuts are not like this. It should be a nice, clean cut. And the more you pay attention to these angles, like you're cutting through water, would you flat blade through water? No, all the resistance is going to be against you. So you want to carry it through nice and fluid with all of our angles, like you're going through water. Now, so we're only really going to go through 6 thrust and cut forms for this template. We're going to go number 1, thrust, cut through. Number 2, thrust and cut through. Number 3, thrust and cut through. Number 4, that reverse awkward one, thrust and cut through. Number 5, coming through the side, thrust, cut through. Number 6, thrust and cut through. There's also a drill you could do with a tree or a pole or a piece of rope. I've seen one person who used a fireman's hose and they filled it with sand and hung it from a tree, where we're thrusting, switching, withdrawing. Thrusting, switching, withdrawing. Pop, 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 pop. So this is this drill. There's a couple applications for that, obviously. Maybe I'm thrusting and I need to go to a different angle, or I've actually inserted and I want to create a larger hole to withdraw. Pop, 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 pop. It's also interesting to notice and pay attention to this. Traditional Filipino barong, many of the Filipino blades, they have that hook. Now that hook allows us to do the big swings when our hands happen to be wet. Don't ask me how our hands get wet. Maybe you're in the water, maybe you're practicing in the pool, but you can still swing till the cows come home. Maybe you can't even hold on except a couple fingers. you could still do this flow. All right, so that's something to pay attention to. Maybe you got something from it, maybe you didn't. But remember, our 6 template: thrust, cut, thrust, reverse thrust, cut after, thrust, coming up, uppercut, cut, reverse thrust, uppercut, midsection, banda banda, side to side, boom, and around, boom, and around. So that's the form to work. Play with it. I'm gonna do a flexible tools video really quick, showing you the applications of the fancy Florette stuff, which to me doesn't really come into applicable stuff when we actually try to spar. All right, thanks for checking it out. Talk to you soon.